A very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to session number 12 of our travel series titled Break Free. And today's session is by Shubham Mansingka, and he's a travel blogger. And I must thank Selja, ICF member, who introduced him to us. And we started this series with Shelja, although she's not present today. And rather than me telling you something about Shubham, I will leave it to Shubham because, like, I checked out his website, which is like shubham.co.in, and the story is like very interesting. So before we start with today's session, I will request Shubham to share with us the story of how he became a travel blogger from a hardcore businessman.
Hi everybody. So I am Shubham Mansinka. I'm joining from Kasar Devi in Almoda. In the lockdown, we always kept thinking while traveling that someday we will like to live in the mountains, maybe live somewhere. So this time it gave us the perfect opportunity right now when we came to this part of Kumaon in Uttarakhand. We just decided to rent a little cottage, me and my wife here. So we have been living here for the past 2 months now. It's simple. It's in the jungle, so it's fun to do it. So how did I start my journey as a full-time traveler? So I was managing my family business, and I used to keep falling sick with asthma and other troubles. When I used to travel, I used to love the feeling and realize that okay, the maybe the factory's dust is making me a little uh, ill. So I traveled, and then I figured okay, I could write as well, and it was just a pure a chance thing that happened. So this is how I and then freelance assignments started coming in. My website started doing well. So I continued doing this, and so far so good. The last year has been a bit challenging, but work is picking up again. Should I start the screen sharing PPT?
Yes, Shubham, you can start.
Okay. So we are going to be discussing travel to offbeat destinations on a budget. These days we keep hearing about travel as mainstream travel, offbeat travel, what sort of things. There are so many different kinds of travel. So I have tried to put this in words. So what is an offbeat destination? Per se, there is no definition as such for an offbeat destination. What might be offbeat for you may not be offbeat for me. So sometimes what happens is offbeat destinations can just lie, say, 5 kilometers from a mainstream destination. And what I have done with budget is I have considered a per day budget of 600 to 1000 Indian rupees per day as budget travel in our country, so that we can be on the same page when we are discussing offbeat destinations. Offbeat travel might also be low season travel. Say it could be traveling to a mainstream destination in a season when nobody goes. So, for example, I have written winter in Ladakh. So, if summer in Ladakh is very popular, very touristy, but winter might be a totally different experience when the hotels are closed. You only go to stay at homestays, and you can live with the locals. So, in the photograph on my first winter visit to Ladakh, uh, I met a family of 5, 6 from Jaipur itself in the aircraft, and then we ended up talking and staying at the same homestay. And we ended up hitching a ride, booking a ride for the 6, 7 of us in a cab. And here I am walking with a local on the frozen Pangong. So I was very scared to actually walk on the lake. I was like, nay, nay, it will break down or something. And then the guy said, nothing happens. Chalo, come with me. So So this is how I'm defining offbeat travel. It could also be low season travel. So visiting a place in the not so popular season, you get an entirely different experience from a mainstream. Also be slow travel. So suppose you are doing the popular Golden Triangle circuit, say Jaipur, Delhi, Agra. So some people, what they do is they just end up coming to Jaipur and just say staying for 2 3 weeks. So when you stay for longer, you automatically start feeling like a local, and that is what defines the experience. So if because I'm from Jaipur, I can relate to what I'm saying. So I can give you a present example of where I am living right now in Kasardevi in the jungle. So our daily activities sometimes we see, okay, there is no bread. So there is a nearby bakery. They bake fresh bread and deliver it for us. So they call us कि आपका bread ready है. Your bread is ready. So we sometimes have to go walking in the jungle for 40 minutes to get our bread. So these city folks might never be able to relate to this, that freshly baked bread is available, and sometimes you have to spend so much time on
Shubham has got muted. I can't hear anything. Ask Shubham to unmute
yeah,
himself.
yeah. I don't know how it got disconnected or something. Yeah, am I audible now? Yeah. Okay. So on the screen, I have shared. I don't know if you heard the story of bringing the bread for 40 minutes in the from the jungle paths. Vivek, can you confirm if everybody heard the story of bringing the fresh loaf of bread through a jungle
Yes,
path?
yes, we heard about the loaf of bread, and you
Thank
had to
you.
walk for 40 minutes, and
Yeah,
maybe city people wouldn't think that is very convenient.
yeah.
I
Also,
do think it's convenient. Carry on.
so another anecdote that I can share from the local life here is one day we were carrying our dari and we were sitting and working in the pine forest here because the network there is better. So and a deer came in front of us. We could not believe it that wildlife is so easily accessible sometimes. So in the picture that I have shared, this is a breakfast spread in the winter in a town called Van in Turkey. I think it lies in the southwest part of Turkey. It is very close to the borders of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and the breakfast of that place is so popular that in the summer they actually serve breakfast till 6 7 in the evening. So we walked, and we walked, and this was in December in Turkey, pretty cold. And then the locals took us to some place which was in the Guinness Book of World Records for serving a breakfast with. Your internet connection is unstable. No, it's okay now. So yeah, I have shared this, and one can get acquainted with arts, crafts, and heritage when you
But
slow
the
travel to a
platter is
place
not
because it
visible
was.
now. Your slide is not visible now.
Is it visible now?
No,
No,
we're seeing all our faces.
yeah, I think you have to start screen sharing again.
I will. Because the internet is a little unstable here. One second. Start screen sharing. Share screen. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Perfect. So yeah, this is the breakfast platter. This we had at what 4 in the evening on a winter afternoon when it was pretty cold in Turkey. Like the temperatures must have been in the negative in the day only. And the place has a breakfast of 60 dishes in the summer months. So if you stay longer in a place, say 2 3 weeks or say even a week, so when you are going around, you go around without making too many plans, and then you get knowledge about arts, crafts, and heritage, which otherwise you may not. So that really makes a difference if you are slow traveling. How can I minimize this? Yeah, I can. Also, I want to share how we can travel offbeat and budget both, because we are talking offbeat travel on a budget. I would say homestays are a great bet for budget and offbeat travel, so that you end up and you also end up benefiting the local uh, economy when you stay at homestays. So it's also a part of responsible and sustainable travel. When you stay at homestays, you live with locals. You live like a local and also eat their local cuisine. You can see what they, how they live their daily lives. What might be very touristy for you may be very local for them. So, example, they can suggest walks and hidden delights. So, for example, again, since I am a Jaipur local, so Jaipur, everybody recommends sunset at Nahargarh Fort. But as a local, we drive to Nahargarh at 5 in the morning and see a fabulous sunrise from the fort when there are no tourists around and there are very few people. And you actually see a blue, nice sunrise when the sun lights up the town and the old houses. So these things you will only get at homestay recommendations, because only the locals can recommend where to go, what to do, minus the touristy sites. Some examples of offbeat travel I have written that backpacking in winter in Turkey. So me and my wife went around for what 20 days, 3 weeks for approximately 1,000 Indian rupees per day. It wasn't as easy because I know, and we had been to Turkey earlier, so maybe we were able to gauge the country's setting better, how the country works. But in basic terms, if we can say how did we do it, we actually traveled across Turkey. We landed in Istanbul and just went out from the airport to a coast town on the Black Sea, and then we went to this Iran-Iraq border place, and then to Gaziantep near the Syrian border, and then we came back. So we traversed the entire country in buses. So how did we do it? We learned some local words, ate where the locals did, and did some basic research of where to go, how to, and which area if we would like to stay. And we never took any internet connection, nothing. We just kept asking the locals, and they would help us. Even though very few people know English, still it worked out. So this is like a little example of offbeat travel. Turkey is a popular destination, but that is what we did. We traveled across it in the low season. Another example of offbeat travel close home would be the Great Himalayan National Park region in the Kulu Valley. So I've been to the area multiple times and been lucky to explore hidden villages in and around the national park area. So if we want to see pure local villages, I would say we need to get to places which are not yet connected by a road. There we can see authentic rural life in villages because there is no road and the locals have time for you. They can talk to you, they can show you stuff. They are still practicing the old, they make the old shawls on the handloom and it's with the old designs. It's fabulous to see the locals do it. So in the photograph, uh, this is a village festival in Kullu Valley, which I was very lucky to attend. And the villagers posed for me, and it turned out to be into a great shot. Also, Vivek, just for a heads up, if anybody wants to speak during the presentation or maybe ask anything or share anecdotes, I think it's absolutely okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Thanks. I wanted to ask, when did you go to Turkey on that
Uh,
1,000 rupees
we
a day?
first went in 2018 and then again in 2019.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And you mentioned like 20 days on a budget of 1000 INR per day.
per day, per person. Yeah,
So
yeah.
so that excludes the airfare.
Yeah, yeah. That excludes the airfare, only on ground prices.
Okay, okay.
That includes the staying, the food, the travel, everything else.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So in the lockdown, I also got a chance to explore my art and craft fascination that I always had with travel. So whenever I would go to places, I would bring my bag full of stuff and local crafts, whatever the locals are making. Just keep buying and maybe exploring things. In the lockdown in Jaipur, I figured that the artisans were really badly hit, and they did not know how to reach the end customers. And it what it meant was they were either thinking of giving up the art or maybe just selling it either at throwaway prices or stopping it altogether. So it gave me a chance to connect with these artisans, and I started a small artisan driven venture by the name of Indie Local. It does not have a website yet, but it only exists on Instagram, and it it only deals with handmade products made by artisans. When I am in Almora, so I have been able to ship a lot of woolen products made by the women in living in the villages here. So the knit products and shawls and mufflers, and they also have welcome stuff that they make outside homes. That is also available on Indie Local. So uh, this has given me a great idea. Travel has given me a great chance to do this, and offbeat travel enables you to connect with the artisans because you are not going with an aim to do anything. You are curious to find out more about what the art is. So, and in Rajasthan, I do dharis. I have so many artisans who make rugs in cotton and wool and jute and wool and silk and all these things. And Pichwai paintings. I have painters. I have from Sikkim. I have Kalimpong stuff. So there is across the country. From Nagaland, I was able to source uh, masks and some beads, bracelets. Yeah. So offbeat travel can give you that zeal of exploring our own country better. Another example of an offbeat destination would be Landor. It's a small it's it's a small cantonment station near Missouri, but has a totally different feel. So one might say generally there are tourists who visit Missouri and then go to Landor for a day trip. The trick is, but and I think the distance would be what, hardly 5 kilometers from Missouri. But the pleasure is to actually live in Landor. So what happened in one fine summer morning, we landed up in Landor in Missouri and walked up to Landor, and then we decided that we want to stay in Landor. So the only options of stay were really expensive. We walked around Landor cantonment. It's a small area. You can complete the whole walk in what, 45 odd minutes. And there were some locals who observed us, and when we asked them if we can stay somewhere, they helped us out with arranging a old 100-year-old cottage. And so when you decide that you want to do something offbeat, I think the circumstances conspire to make sure that something good happens. So this is one of the scenes from Landor on a walk. And Landor is popular also for the winter line. In the winter, in Missouri, you can see two horizons while it is sunset time. And because most tourists are visiting on day trips, they end up going back without actually experiencing the calm and the silence of Landor. So it brings us to the question, how do we start offbeat travel? There are people who would take what, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number of vacations per year, and have the question how to actually go beyond the mainstream. So I would say maybe not do it to the extreme, but do the opposite of what people usually do. So if everybody else is heading to the hills in, say, May, you go in August. It might be greener, it might be better, there will be fewer people, you would see something what very few people have seen. And sometimes offbeat might only mean going a little farther than where the touristy sites lie. So suppose for the example of, say, McLeodganj, if you go 5-7 kilometers past, there are small villages. A village that comes to mind is Nadi. So in Nadi you have homestays and you have a clear view of the Himalayas, and you won't find any tourists around there. I would love to remember an anecdote when I came to Chennai, and I think I was renting a scooty or something in Auroville. So, and I had been recommended Tranquebar by friends who told me that I would love the architecture and the old Danish town. So I somehow got to Tranquebar. I did not easily get to Tranquebar. Due to a language confusion, I think they first took me to a place called Karaikal or something. And then they had to put me in another bus to make sure that I got to Tranquebar. And what a day it was. It was fabulous. The Danish architecture in Tranquebar is just out of the world. And I had no idea about that place before I actually reached there. So sometimes offbeat might mean not knowing about the destination as much and just giving into curiosity and saying, let's see what happens. Let's go. As you have already discussed, offbeat travel might be low season travel. But to travel in low season, it is essential that one must do basic research about the destination. So a dilemma persists whether one should book accommodation or reach and figure out. It's easy to book accommodation off the internet these days, but what happens is if you reach and figure out, the prices generally turn out to be lesser. So this is a picture from Gaziantep in Turkey. So the Gaziantep fort is lit up. We had reached there at what, 6-7 in the morning. This is a city in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites for a gastronomic city. So basically it's all about food in Antep. And when we had got there, it was dark. We had no idea where to stay. But then I had done my basic research about the area where we wanted to stay. And we ended up getting fabulous places for 1,500 Indian rupees. 100-year-old mansions, heritage houses. Another dilemma that comes is, should we keep our travel plans fixed or should we keep them spontaneous? Because if we are very rigid on our travel itinerary, then we may lose out on the chance of getting an offbeat experience. Because offbeat is not defined in a guidebook. For offbeat, you need to Trust your gut, go with the local, do something else. Just go. Sometimes when you're walking, when you're hiking in a jungle, like we do it in the in where we are living right now. So sometimes we go to the nearby village and see a most fabulous sunset, and the peaks like Mount Trishul, Nanda Devi, Nanda Kot, all of them light up pink, and it's just a 20-minute walk from our place. So we call it a offbeat thing because there are no tourists here. It's just the villagers. For the villagers, it's an everyday thing, but they also sit and they just enjoy. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Offbeat travel. Should we checklist travel or random travel? Sometimes uh, we are very fixated on itineraries and 7-day itinerary, 5-day itineraries. I think it's essential that we have to leave a possibility for chance experiences. Only by doing that is it possible for us to get a different experience. So once I landed up in Goa in July, and it is unparalleled what fun it was, because I had never thought Goa would be beyond the beaches, but then that time it was fabulous to see a different part of Goa. And offbeat experiences can something which may not be known earlier, like what you may be experiencing right now. You might think, I don't know if I'm wasting time, I don't know, is it good? And maybe 2-3 years after you have experienced it, you will see it in a guidebook somewhere, you will see it being popular on the internet. And that is how sometimes offbeat experiences can be. So in the lockdown also, I got a chance to write down my travel stories. And I have, it's a collection of short stories by the name of Goodness of Strangers. It includes 18-19 chapters from my travels across India. I have not used any international travel experiences in that one. So it's in the process of getting published now. I am self-publishing it. And it has a lot of offbeat travel experience, that from Jaisalmer to Spiti in the winter to remote corners of the Northeast, hitchhiking in Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh and the likes. And one or two, I think, from other parts of our country as well. So it has been offbeat travel mostly that has allowed me the chance to uh, write down this fabulous short story collection. They are very close to my heart. When things seem down and out, you don't know how you are going to reach a place, there are no buses running, a shared taxi does not run, you hitchhike, sometimes you get right, sometimes you don't, sometimes you meet amazing strangers who are willing to help you. So yeah. Questions? I have no idea how much time has gone. How to enjoy offbeat travel? Treat everything as a learning experience. So on the road, sometimes what happens is, when you are trying to go offbeat, when things are not written in a diary, when it is not mentioned in a guidebook, how do you know whether you are doing something which you might enjoy? So for example, I was in Manali in the snow, and after spending a week or so, somebody told me, you must go to Solang Valley. I was like, Solang Valley is too popular, what should I do there? But then shared taxi going, and I sat in that one. After reaching Solang Valley, I saw everybody was paragliding, everybody is doing the touristy stuff. So I saw a few locals going in a different way. It was all snowed out, it was white. I also started following the locals, thinking, let's see what happens, where it goes. And after walking for an hour or so, 40-45 minutes, there was a temple in the snow, and a natural shivling had formed from the snow, and there were fabulous bhajans being sung by, and the whole air was of spirituality. So, and and it turned out to be that somebody was offering some food that day. So food was available for everybody. It was a pure local experience, and it was nice to see the frozen icicles coming down in form of water and making the shivling. So that day I did not know if it was what it was. Was it offbeat? Was it? I had no idea. And then now it turns out that it's a very nice offbeat experience. Now you can see that experience in of the internet. That what to do offbeat in Solang Valley. Offbeat might not always be Instagrammable. So these days travel has often come to mean getting the perfect Instagram shot or getting the perfect Instagram reel. But offbeat, sometimes you just experience the thing in your heart rather than trying to get a perfect picture out of it or making a video out of it. So these days, spring is almost in the air where we are. So sometimes we wake up and we see the trees are bare, and in the afternoon the leaves have sprung up. I have not been able to capture that on camera, but it's unbelievable to see it. So the tree outside, I think hardly 7 or 8 days ago there was no, it was leafless, and now it has so many leaves. And now it's a profusion of wildflowers in the forest, yellow and uh, which you hardly you can click, or it's meant to be experienced. The aroma of the pine forest in the morning, it's it's not something that I can explain. It's just out of the world. It's the cooing of the birds. So sometimes you might find it difficult to explain to somebody what experience did you have, and the other person might think, oh, you must have got bored. But that's okay. So ultimately, we have to realize that we travel for ourselves and not for Instagram, right? For example, say offbeat things in Majuli. So I've been to Majuli in Assam 2 3 times. It's like the largest fresh water island or something. I forget the exact thing. On our last visit, we were with other friends. So we were four of us, and Majuli is spread over a large area. So we were trying to get to different places there. Inside Majuli, there are called satras. So a satra is essentially a place where a different art or craft is practiced. So uh, and because the distances were large, we had to find new ways to travel. So how did we manage? I used to actually ask villagers for rides, and four of us would get rides on four different motorbikes sometimes. And that is how we saw Majuli. So the hitching of rides with locals was just too amazing, because four of us would need rides. On one of our journeys, we actually ended up hitching a ride trying to get to one area, and we asked him that we are trying to get to this tribe's person because they make millet millet beer or millet alcohol. And the guy giving us the ride, he took us to his home, and we ended up and he ended up giving us serving us millet beer in bronze bowls. So how many times does that happen? It was just too amazing for to go with a local and just be driven to his home and given that experience. Another example of a very nice travel experience is in Mechuka in the far east in Arunachal Pradesh. So there I got a truck ride to somehow reach to a village before Mechuka, and the truck guys dropped me at a Rajasthani guy owned petrol pump. I went to him and asked for help, and he ended up giving me food ended up asking me for food at his home. I was not very used to eating rice every day for lunch and dinner for what 2 weeks, and I had got so bored. I was like, I'm not going to eat any more rice. I need roti. So that guy, I ended up going to his home and having my only roti meal in Arunachal Pradesh. I would never have gotten a offbeat experience like this if I was very hell bent on doing it in the guidebook way. Yeah. So my slideshow has ended. I would love to speak, get answer questions.
Yeah, Shubham, can you go back to the slide in which like there was a tandoor?
Ha ha ha. Yeah.
Yeah, so where was this picture taken? Because this is a different kind of tandoor because I see that person sitting at the same level.
Yeah. So this is clicked in the old Leh Bazaar.
Okay, okay.
And Leh, because it was the crossroads of Central Asia, uh, Central Asian people have come from different countries and they have set up their food systems there. So the tandoor remains. I think these people migrated in the 15th, 16th century, and they have set up the tandoors. It still remains in the old bazaar.
So over to the participants now for their questions.
Not a question as such.
I want to thank you for such an interesting introduction to the kind of travel you've done. And I'm particularly interested in travel. I had worked in travel many years ago, and I like very much your commitment to homestays and talking to local people. I've had a bit of that experience, and it is much, much better than any kind of structured itinerary and all that kind of thing. Anyway, please carry on.
In
Thank
fact,
you.
offbeat traveling looks more envious from this side. We spend a lot of money on stays and travel and other things, but more than the money, you get the real authentic taste of what it is to live there.
Yeah.
That is a great experience, and I'm really envious about especially the setup already you are in right now. You said you are away for 2 months now, so
Yeah. So I can, today is not a very clear day. Otherwise, I can see the 8,000-meter peaks from the window that I am.
yes. You also talked about Tranquebar, somebody taking you to Karaikal. There's a reason behind it. That place Tranquebar is that was named by Portuguese when they came here. The original name is still now it is Tarangambadi.
Tarangambadi, yeah.
Tarangambadi, okay, but like the case with many other names, Portuguese found it very difficult to pronounce it, and then they made it a Portuguese name like Tranquebar. And so unless the person is associated with some tourism and understand the importance, regular people may not know about the name. So they would.
So it was. So that day it was fun. When I was returning from Tranquebar, I was very hungry, and I had boarded one of the local buses that was headed back to Chennai. They had stopped at one of the local eateries, and those guys did not know Hindi or English. It was an old couple, and it was just written 60 and something was written on the board. I said vegetarian. I think I had to actually point out to whoever was eating in the dhaba there that I need the same food, and they served me on a leaf, and
plantain leaf,
yeah, it was rice, and I don't know, many varieties of ginger chutney. Avial. It was so good, and the lady made sure that I ate so much, and I still can't forget that meal. I am like, wow. If language, we don't need to know their language, right? I never understood, but she held my head in her hand in the end, and I'm like, this is life, right?
No, people naturally identify with you when you love their culture, when you try to understand them to be what they are, and they easily identify us with them, and it becomes very easy. Wonderful.
Thanks. Come on, leave aside your inhibitions. Let's talk, everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, most of these are presenters already, so I don't think there is any inhibition. The student.
No, we are still. So let me be honest with everybody. I am not a big fan of public speaking, but I keep doing these in person. I used to do these in person at cafes with the youngsters who want to know how I do it, how I started, and all that. And these days, I'm like, it's okay. It's okay to not be very comfortable, but then, yeah.
Okay, I have a
Yeah.
question. Because we all are somewhat, I am not, but most people are usually suspicious or they have security issues. Okay, we are going to sit with four people on a motorcycle. Now we have some minimum valuables with us. So how do you cope with that? With the four of you, I can understand it will be quite well.
Yeah.
But even if one of you somewhere, then what do you do?
In the day, there is hardly any chance of anything going wrong because you're going to be on the road and nobody is going to rob you off if you are not in a very remote area.
Mhm.
The basic rules of travel still apply. I would not suggest hitchhiking in remote regions after dark. And as a solo traveler, I have my rules for making sure that I get to a destinations before, say, before
Mhm.
daylight ends, an hour before daylight ends.
Now, what do you carry with you?
A backpack.
Okay. And how much money do you think one should have at a minimum if one is traveling for, say,
If we are
hopefully,
traveling in remote regions, then we need cash, and cash could be at least a minimum of 5-10,000 bucks. It's better to keep. These days,
Okay.
ATMs have sprung up everywhere, so you don't need to be actually carrying a lot of money. Earlier, back in the day, I remember my Ladakh times. I used to have what sometimes 15,000 bucks because if I have arrived in Leh, there would be no ATM working for the entire duration of my trip. So we could make sure that we put them in different parts and make sure that we are never showing the money to the locals so that they keep thinking he doesn't have much.
Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to ask something. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It's very interesting to listen to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how safe is it for like a lone woman to go? Just wandering off like that, and you just take on your instincts, you just travel off into any direction. So,
I
anybody that you know who has come up with any kind of bad experiences regarding this?
There are always going to be bad experiences when we are talking about travel, especially
Mm.
travel. And I can understand it may be a little more difficult for women from the perspective that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the good will always outnumber the bad. So I know what you mean. Like 99 good experience and one bad experience. We don't want the one bad experience, but
Hmm.
basic rules are going to apply there as well. We need to trust our instinct somehow. Sometimes when the instinct goes wrong, we may get in trouble, but that's the trick to wriggle out of somehow the
Yeah.
situation and trust the higher power and say everything is okay. Let's go.
No, like you said, like we were hitchhiking on bikes. I mean, like as a
Yeah.
woman, like I don't think I would be very comfortable doing that. Or like a lot of
So
times, I have been thinking of going off on my own, but I have not kind of had the courage till now. But I still keep planning. Okay, one day I will do that. Just wander off on my own and let instincts take me wherever I go, kind of a
So
thing.
that it's going to be a very great idea if you ever decide to do that. So that's what I would suggest when you want to start doing this. It makes sense to just go to a place which you're already familiar with, that your brain can process. Even if something goes wrong, you know your way out.
Okay, yeah.
So
I think
there,
that
if you
makes
try
sense.
doing
Yeah.
it, then you're like, okay, slowly the confidence builds, and slowly your brain tells you, oh, the world is a good place. Nothing is going to happen. Let's do it. So
Yeah.
that mean that once in a while we may not have bad experiences. We are going to have bad experience. This is life. It did not come with a all good experiences thing. So
Yeah. Okay. I think I should do that. Yeah. Go to familiar places first, and then kind of
Once, yeah, yeah,
order
yeah.
from there. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Bushra, actually, our last session was on hitchhiking, and
Oh.
that session was by Shubhra Mittal.
Okay.
The recording is available on our YouTube channel. So if you watch that session, I think your question
Yeah.
will get answered. She has been hitchhiking
Okay. Oh, wonderful.
in mountains for the last 4 years, and
Uh-huh.
she
Okay.
shared some tips on how she handles that.
Okay. I'll do that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
And we had a session by Ritu J Goyal also, like she also organizes group tours for women, so that might also be worth looking into.
Okay.
So that session also is available on YouTube, and
Okay. Thank you.
it's good to have you today.
Uh, thank you. Mhm.
Mosami Ghosh, do you want to share something?
Mm.
Sure, somebody please go ahead, share your experiences. We might be able to relate and have a laugh at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
Mr. Devanand Paul from Bangladesh, Dhaka.
Wow.
yeah,
Welcome, Dev.
yeah. Hello. So, what I've understood is uh, this is something where, see, generally when you go for a tour, it is totally commercially promoted. So the guide, whoever is that one, they try to take you to make money, and they show you the tailor-made destinations, whatever is there. The offbeat is one is the real essence of the tour, like which nobody has explored, and where you're going and doing something different. And so what also I've understood is that your objective of this tour is one is the local culture, and second is art. Is that the right thing I can assume, right?
Yeah, when we are traveling in a local sort of way, it could be art, culture, food, the sites. There will be places from where the view can be very nice, and which only the locals sometimes know, which we don't know.
Yes, yes,
A stream where a waterfall in the jungle where one can collect some wood and put up a fire and get some fresh corn from the fields. Ask the village women if I can get the corn from them, and
yes.
just roast the corn and have a picnic to remember. That is, you don't want to eat the corn from the mall road sellers. You just want to do a picnic in the jungle. It could be
Because
anything.
yeah, I do wildlife photography. So
Wow.
one
Oh,
cardinal
lovely.
principles I do is that because any place on earth you can travel.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you think that you have to travel by a car, then you can't say I can't travel beyond that one. But if you
Yeah.
don't mind a bike or a rickshaw or in a boat or whichever way it is, that one. So it is possible for us to travel. And second is, even in a village, you'll get accommodation. So because
Yeah.
people say immediately there is no hotel or anything.
Yeah.
2 weeks back, I was in a very remote place in Bangladesh, which is very closer to India. So that place is a beautiful place where Meghalaya is very famous for waterfall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
almost 60, 65 waterfalls flow from Meghalaya towards Bangladesh. And this gets accumulated in a place called Sonamganj, which is a very beautiful place. It's full of water. So it's
Wow.
you see from Meghalaya towards Bangladesh, it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's full of water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is like Venice, like because we always think that we should go to Venice to see the water one. So in that place, around 43 villages are there, and all the villages are connected through the waterways only. There is no way vehicle or motorbike, nothing can go. It's all by water one. It's a very very beautiful place, and because I stayed in a very normal place in the village one, so it's very cheap, and you have to eat whatever food they give you, but the experience is very amazing. So it's
Fabulous.
very.
Thank you so much, Devanand, for sharing that. That is, it reminds me of my own experience in Manipur at a Loktak lake. So when I was staying on a homestay near the Loktak lake, I saw the floating fumris. So there are there are land masses, green land masses floating in the lake. So I wondered and I thought that what, and there are people who actually have homes on those floating masses. So it appears that the homes are floating. The villagers, I said, what if one day somebody made a homestay on one of these floating fumdis? One can see a floating sunrise and one can see a floating sunset. What better life, yeah? So now I learned that somebody's actually started a floating homestay at Loktak Lake. So what might be offbeat 2, 3, 4 years ago when I had visited, it's become a reality now. So
Yes.
if you guys, any of you guys ever go to Loktak Lake, I have not stayed in that floating homestay, but just think about it. You could be on a floating homestay on a lake, on a UNESCO World Heritage Site lake.
And I would like to know, how do you share your experience? Do you write travelogues or you write?
Yeah, I'm a full-time travel blogger. My that's my blog's name, Travel Shubham, TravelShoebum. That's how my college mates used to make fun of me. So I ended up naming my blog on those lines. And I share my experience on Facebook, Instagram, and all these channels.
And do you get a common friends or something like a group where you can go together through Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, I didn't get your question, Dev.
No. So like if you're in Facebook and you're sharing your experience, there'll be some person who will be interested in that. And you had experience like traveling together with a person of your same wavelength. That's what I'm asking. Have you had any experience like that?
Yeah. I have met many random people on the road and we have ended up becoming nice friends. And that is what travel is about. It's about meeting other people and making friends and knowing different cultures and belonging to all these cultures, trying to become a local wherever you go, keeping it all in your heart and maybe carrying back souvenirs and taking them home and keeping them all at home and remembering all the places that you visited.
Yeah.
Among the participants, we also have Mr. Selva Rajan, who will be presenting our next session on bird watching. So, Mr. Selva Rajan, can you please give us a brief intro of what you will be presenting?
Yeah, hi to all. Wonderful, Mr. Shubham. It was very nice, and I was really surprised because I tell you, I'm opposite of you. I need to plan, especially when we are going on birding, we need to plan which season we have to go, which places we have to stay, all those things we need to plan. So in my case, it's going to be completely opposite of what you said.
Sir, this is a great, sir, I'm interrupting you. This is a great place for bird watching. We have started giving rice to the birds here. And we have, I don't know all the names, but we have blue crows. We have, I don't know, we have small birds, yellow, orange. Oh, there is
every color.
Yeah.
On earth you will be getting.
Because we are in the jungle and it is a dense jungle. These are cottages in the jungle. And we are away, 2 kilometers from the main road?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, next week I will introduce all my bird friends. Beautiful colors.
They would love to. Yeah.
Okay.
Please, so sir, continue. Sorry for troubling.
I would like to know, see, you have gone without planning. Yeah. I really definitely, because you said offbeat, my heart is beating. Offbeat when you are saying, because, I don't know how to do it actually. See, I just want to share 2 minutes, I'll just take. I traveled with my family long back 1980s. From Trivandrum I was traveling to Srinagar. I was trying to be offbeat because nobody has gone there from south and I just wanted to explore. Okay, but I planned entire trip. I had planned to where to stay in Jammu, where to stay in Delhi. I was not knowing Hindi by that time. So I planned everything and I had gone to up to Srinagar without knowing anybody, without knowing any language. And just my father was sitting in Madurai and he was praying to every god he must return properly. That's what he was praying daily. He was praying he must come. daily, because in those days no communication was available. No mobile, nothing was there. You cannot, even if you are sending a letter, it will reach after 20 days or something like that. So the entire 15 days when I was going out, it has ended offbeat only, in the sense when I reached Jammu and got down, when I got down with my young kids who were only 3 years and 4 years, just young kids. Now they are all grown up, married, and those children with them, I just entered into Jammu. The moment I entered the railway station and I was checking my reservation in my for my hotel room, they said no such letter has come from South. My God. Then I was left alone without knowing language and all, Then I had got into the streets and they said auto rickshaw, take us to some hotels. And I found that I was working in a bank. I found a bank, my bank board was there, and then I immediately got there and I asked some of the friends, it was something like offbeat. I was just reminded when you were talking about Subham. You are talking about your experience is really interesting. But you tell me one thing.
Sir, that is the real offbeat. Now this internet generation, they everything know before reaching the destination. That was the real time. When we go to places, we reach the bus stand and then we see what that is.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. Now my friend Murli is here, who is a Himalayan trekker. He has trekked like anything. He is also here in this Mr. Muralidhar. He is also here only, and with him only I am going for all my trekking and other programs. Next week also we will share our birding experiences together. But I would like to ask you, suppose if you are not getting any accommodation in the winter, in the severe cold, how will you manage it?
Sir, it happened at one little place in Ladakh in the winter, when we, after arriving in Leh, we should have acclimatized, but because it was 7th trip to Ladakh, I was very confident that nothing will happen. And we we hitched a ride, and in a Kargil taxi, we got till Lamayuru. I thought Lamayuru, big town, no problem with accommodation. Turns out Lamayuru in winter was shut down.
Yes.
Then it was around 3-4 in the afternoon. What to do? Somehow we went to a village called Wanla. There were only, I think, 8-9 homes in Wanla. And the only homestay of the village was closed. But we went and just put our hands to an old people there. They said, our kids are not here, but you can sleep in the room. And they gave whatever they cooked. And next morning they say, we don't want money. That is the thing, that we have to give them money, very poor people. But the food that they gave us, I have still not had better food in Ladakh.
Okay, good.
That good it was, because it was local. The carrot was this big.
Oh, that's great.
So it has been sometimes that condition has come, what you mentioned, but in somehow it works out. Somebody is going to say, okay, you have arrived. No problem, we are going to help you.
Okay, so nice to hear you. Okay, thanks, Mr. Vivek Ji. I will be handling the session next week, definitely. And I will be sharing some of the birds and how I had come across them and how we stayed together, Mr. Murli. Mostly in North, Mr. Murli and I used to be there in almost all treks and trails, nature trails. And I hope that you will all like it, though you may not be knowing the names of some of the birds. I know that it's very difficult because nobody can specialize in all the fields together. Well, I am also not a specialist. I am a very commonist. Okay, I am not a specialist. So let me share my experiences next week on various birding trips, right from south to the north. We have been going there to various places. And every place was giving us some experience about what is life. Actually, we learned not birding, we learned what is life really.
Yes.
That's one thing which I still am learning, because I loved. I'm feeling handicapped because of the COVID-19.
Sir, same with all people like us. This COVID, we are told that if somebody is coming, you must be distrustful. But that is not how we are. That is how I was used to living. It was a very difficult time, and now we are somehow getting used to normal travel. We actually hitched a ride to go to Ranikhet, and we did the old thing again.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so much,
Mr.
sir. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Anyone else with their thoughts, inputs? Nirja, Mosmi,
Unless somebody else has something to say, I have had the advantage of going to Kochi for a seminar, but then staying 4 days. And when I stayed 4 days longer, then the place we had the seminar, I can't remember the name of it, but it was outside of Kochi. It was far. So I hopped on a bus and it took me somewhere, and I talked to some people, and some people told me something. I don't know Tamil, and it worked out very well. And for 4 days, without knowing where I'm going, what I'm going, I managed to have a very good time. I was in Maharashtra, in near Chandrapur. There's a tiger. There's a tiger reserve, Tadoba Andheri Tiger Reserve. So what could I do at the reserve all the time? So again, I took the bus to the Chandrapur, and I roamed around, and I do this. And I think it is a very good thing to do. I think I will continue doing this. I go somewhere and then I start busing it around. And when I bus it, then I meet so many people on the bus, and they're always curious, what am I doing alone? And they ask and they help. And yes, the world is very nice. And the more we see of it, the richer we become personally.
Yes. Very, very nicely said, ma'am.
Shubham, is it possible for you to give us a view of the outside surroundings?
Yes. I will be able to share pictures because this is my wife's laptop and I actually do not know how it works.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So it's a green jungle without a road. We have to walk 15 minutes to get to the nearest road, and sometimes we hitch rides. So here everybody gives us rides when we get to the road. We are tripling it everywhere.
So Nirja is saying offbeat travel is something I have not done because I travel alone, but with my kids.
Yeah, I think even traveling with kids should be considered offbeat because I have no idea how the kids react. There are so many tantrums. Somehow to just manage it all. I think the earlier generation was great that they could do so many things and they were always adjusting with things. So I think all kinds of travel we should feel very happy that we are doing whatever sort of travel we are doing. It does not have to be offbeat always.
Yes.
Because only we are defining what we like. What is offbeat? What there are some people, some of my friends who actually can't handle when they come traveling with me. They just hate what I'm doing. They're like, but I want to go to a nice cafe and just do the usual thing. I'm like, yeah, sure. For for them, it's like, okay, we travel twice a year. We want to do fancy stuff. So we don't have to stick to one kind of travel. And sometimes here, because we are here for 2 months now, once we actually went to Almora and we had the normal Punjabi food at Moti Mahal Deluxe because we are missing it.
Yeah.
Although I'm really missing the appams and the South Indian food here. We love South Indian food, but Almora has, I don't know, I'm yet to find but a Bangalore family is living very close to one of the cottages. I'm trying to make friends with them so that maybe they can make something one day.
Thanks, Shubham, for a great session. Thanks to all the participants for sharing their stories, their inputs. And Shubham, we will look forward to some snaps like you can take and share later.
Certainly.
And you mentioned about artisans and that you don't have a e-commerce platform right now. You're trying to do something for them on Instagram.
I will just write it here.
So I have shared a e-commerce portal link with you that like he's also trying to do the same thing, and he has put in a system into place. So maybe you can explore that.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Next Saturday, we will have the session by Mr. Selvaraj. And tomorrow, we will have our usual editing webinar on editing and translation by Priyanka Sarkar at 11 a.m. See you next Saturday at 4 p.m. then. Have a nice day, everyone.